welcome to the Enrichment Center. Hello, and welcome to the Enrichment Center. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, your specimen has been processed. Hello, and we are now ready to begin the test proper. The device has been modified. The device has been modified. The device has been modified. You're doing very well. You're doing very well. The device has been modified. The device was Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? The only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart. This isn't brave. It's murder. What did I ever do to you? It's murder. What did I ever do to you?
Okay, enough of that, actually. There we go. All right. So the first time around. Enough of that, actually. Okay, hold on. I hear myself right here. Okay, so enough of that. First time around was pretty much a failure. Let's see here. Let me check my audio levels to make sure. Okay, looks like things are kind of. All right, there we go. This time there is actual game audio this time around. Because that was the problem with the first stream. Like, there was no game audio. Period. Right? Like, at all. Like, not at all. Okay, so this time around, I'm fixed that mistake. And without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead straight into it. I already completed the game, last stream. So I figure, why not just go back into this? I might play something else too while I'm at it. Because who really knows, right? Because first time around it's really bad. Like, you know what? I wonder if I will do the ARG stuff with the radios. Maybe I might do that. Actually, hold on, there, Gladys. How am I look? How do I look? I'm using a webcam this time around with RTX for tracking instead of my phone. So I want to see if. Okay, looks like everything's fine for the most part. Let's get back into it.
We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one. Your specimen has been processed, and we are now ready to begin the test proper. Before we start, however, keep in mind that although fun and learning are the primary goals of all Enrichment Center activities, serious injuries may occur. For your own safety and the safety of others, please refrain from...
Okay, I get it.
Stand back. The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
And we go. All right. So first chamber, pretty easy. Oh yeah, the frickin' radio. Gonna mix it up and do the actual radio stuff. Where's the thing? There we go. This kind of thing wasn't in the game originally. This was actually patched before the release of Portal 2, or up into the anticipation of the announcement of Portal 2.
Please proceed into the chamber lock after completing each test. First, however, note the incandescent particle field across the exit.
Actually, I need to edit some windows here. Gotta make sure everything, because I don't have I'm at a disadvantage compared to others. Whereas, some streamers, they have like dual monitors, like multiple monitors. I'm only using one monitor at the moment in order to keep track of things. But anyway, enough of that though. Let's just do the chamber. I played this game too many times to know that, the pattern right here is pretty simple. You just grab the cube out of the portal, back into it, bam. Very simple. I mean, I guess I'm going to try to speed through this compared to last time, just so I can add a variation, because there's a lot to say about Portal that unfortunately I already said last time I tried this. But you know what? Even so, like. I mean, there are like multiple reasons why I'm playing Portal again. Because, well, this is a very nostalgic game for me right now, alright? Like, this is like a really, like a big nostalgia trip, I would say. Just a huge one. Huge nostalgia trip. And I remember, like, the trailers leading up to release, the original trailer especially, was like was of big interest in the gaming community back then. Because, it's just like, because it's just different, and aside from the fact that it's a game by Valve, it's just the concept itself with, being able to like traverse like puzzle chambers through portals. I mean, Portal was not the first game to experiment with Portal gameplay mechanics. I believe the original 2006 version of Prey had Portal. Yeah, Prey had Portal elements, but they were more like set pieces. This is like the first time where you have portals that you can actually use and manipulate in the environment, which was, of course, very much a curiosity for a lot of people. And of course, because it's Valve, that they would knock it right out of the park. Okay, let's see if I can do this next one with the radio. Admittedly, I forgot the radio placement for these, like for the ARG. So I'm kind of have to experiment, like relearn what I previously learned. There we go. That's the second radio down. Maybe I might go for the achievement. Who knows? But yeah, there's something about the first Portal that even like something like Portal 2. As much as I love Portal 2, Portal 1 is very distinctive in terms of its atmosphere, in terms of how it's written, the subtlety of it. Whereas Portal 2, I think Portal 2 revealed a little too much about the lore of Aperture Science. Not that it's a bad thing, because the lore, Aperture Science lore, which in turn, is partly the lore of the Half-Life universe, all interesting and all, but there was a certain magic of the subtlety of Portal 1 where it just led to a lot of people speculating. And it was like a lot of fun to speculate about, you know, what is this place? How did it come to be? What is GLaDOS? How does she come to be? Something that maybe got a little too much attention in Portal 2. I gotta make sure I don't have the radio go to the field there. Where do you go, radio? I'm trying to find out. Maybe I screwed up. I think I screwed up. Okay, it looks like I'm not going to get the achievement after all. Unless it's around here. No? Did I screw myself out from getting the achievement? Oh well. I fail at life. There we go. Okay. And of course, you know, Portal was one of my first experiences with Valve in general. One of my first Valve games, you know, I missed out on the whole Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2 hype train and all that, you know, the episodes. I mean, I played all the Half-Life games, don't get me wrong, but, you know, Portal was one of the very first experiences I had with Valve as a company as far as, you know, what their products are like. Because let's face it, you know, Valve back then were, like, pretty much considered, like, up there with Nintendo in terms of just their quality, the quality of their releases, the sheer polish they put into their games, the care back in the day. This was back before, you know, Steam really took over their whole company philosophy and they made Steam a priority later on, but this is back when they still had gaming in mind as far as like their business. Back when they actually made games, and sure, they would vary in terms of when they would release, but you know, I believe they were trying to fix that, you know, trying to fix the whole Valve time, you know, the meme of the whole Valve time where Valve games take forever to come out. I think they were trying to fix that at this time to make sure they have more frequent releases. But of course that didn't pan out because, you know, we still, I mean, to this day we still don't have Episode 3. Episode 3 never became a thing. Half-Life 3 has never become a thing. Games take a longer time to, like, games have, I mean, let's face it, what? You had Half-Life Alyx, now Counter-Strike 2. Like, just 2 games in like the last 15 years. No, not 50, no, there's Counter-Strike Global Offensive, but ooh. Let me see if I can knock that radio down. But yeah, like, they were trying to fix the whole Valve time issue. They failed. Steam took over their business model. So they don't really have to make any games, technically. You know, they don't have to make a game to make money. You know, they could just sit on their asses and, you know, let Steam take care of the rest. You know, just a different time for Valve, this game. And others like it, like Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2, man, that was such a different game back then. To the point where I don't like where Team Fortress 2 is at right now, but back then, God, I was like addicted to Team Fortress 2 at one point. To the point where my dad actually got concerned over my addiction to Team Fortress 2 at one point. You know, it was Team Fortress 2 and Halo 3 that were like my big like video game like addictions back in the day. When, you know, back when these games were still brand new and full of mystique, right? It's, different times, man. Different times. We go on to the next chamber. This chamber's pretty easy if you know. Let's face it, I know this chamber like the back of my hand. Bam. There we go. All these chambers are pretty easy, you know, when you know how to go through them. But back then, you know, these were still, again, like these still had a lot of mystique to them. You know, I mean, these early chambers are pretty much just learning tutorials. You know, it wouldn't be until later on where, you know, that would change and, of course, require a bit of brain power to solve, and pretty easy to solve when you know the solution, but back then, man, I had a trouble with the later chambers. But then again, you know, I guess that's a sign of a good puzzle game. When everything you've been taught before, you know, previously just comes right back to rehash itself and make sure to test what you've learned.
For instance, the floor here will kill you. Try to avoid it.
Yeah, whatever you say, GLaDOS. I'm just going through nostalgia. Every time I play Portal, it's not just right now, but you know, every single time I play Portal, it's like I mean, I played this on an NVIDIA 8600 GTS with 2 gigs of RAM on 32-bit Windows Vista, right? I screwed this up. Yeah, I screwed it up, but or maybe I haven't. Let's see how this goes. No, I screwed it up. Okay, I'm not really paying attention here. I guess I'm just kind of derping out. Gotta wait for the orange portal to go over there. So... come on, make another ball. I have not been paying attention. I am not paying attention. I'm derping out. I guess like this stream should be Portal veteran derps through Portal, because I'm derping right now. But I know the solution. I know the solution. It's just, you know, it's like, ugh. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I'm going full DSP mode right now, and it is not fun. It is not a good feeling to know you're kind of DSPing yourself. But I fixed that, you know. Energy ball's in the proper place. I'm going to go get the portal, the modified portal gun. Did I clutch it? I clutched it! And I forgot to press the button. I was so focused on getting on this platform that I forgot to press the button. Great. Okay, I really am DSPing right now. But then again, you know, despite the fact that I've played this game multiple times, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not exactly a speed runner, you know. I'm not exactly speedrunner material. Yeah, I'm pretty much not going to even bother with the radios at this point. They're not really, you know, all that important anymore. I mean, they were important back in the day when Portal 2 was not a thing yet, but of course, you know, nowadays, I mean, all you have to do is just play Portal 2 and you'll get all the answers you want about, like, Aperture Science. But I remember the ARG for Portal 2 was really effective shit. It really got a lot of people talking. Got me talking right now. I'm not used to talking this much, to be honest with you. But Portal, I mean, Portal is Portal at the end of the day. You know what? I'm glad this game hasn't changed much. We indeed. All right. Let's see. How's the stream going? Like, is the quality all right? Is the sound this time okay? I won't really entirely know until afterwards, I guess. Or maybe I can like test right now. Let me pause real quick and see how things are. I guess. Or maybe I can like test right now. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks like everything's seems to be okay. 1 point. It was Team Fortress 2 and Halo 3. All right. Looks like everything's good. Gotta make sure this time because last time was embarrassing because I had my microphone and all that, but I had no game audio, which sucks because I had plenty to say about my going through memory lane. Just going through memory lane, this game like taking me back to the past. Really, it's really going down. It's going through my brain, basically. I guess that's a sign of a truly legendary game, right? The kind of game that really does take you back every single time you play, no matter how old it is. Sign of a truly like remarkable piece of software. What else is there to say about Valve at this time, really, and gaming in general, the gaming culture in general? What else to really say other than it was definitely not what it is right now? I mean, there's more discourse, there's more controversy. Back then, gaming was just more simple, There was you had good games, you had bad games. I just skipped like 90% of that chamber, doing that little strat right there. But yeah, what else to say about gaming in 2007? I mean, Call of Duty hadn't exactly come into the gaming atmosphere and really changed everything. I mean, Call of Duty was a fairly popular series back then, but it didn't explode until Call of Duty 4, and it definitely didn't truly take off like the way it has until like Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 really changed things. But back then, again, good games, bad games, less politics about like what you should or should not do with your game. Not even going to go into that. I'm just going to focus on, again, like the culture in general and gaming as a whole. This is back before microtransactions were a normalized thing, before DLC was a normalized thing. That is everywhere nowadays. Before games, back then you had to have your game be in tip-top shape before release. There were no amount of patches back then could fix your game. You gotta really make sure that your game is good or bad right off the bat. And Portal was one of those games that just excited people, excited me, and enthralled me like in its first try, And sure, nowadays you'll get those kind of games, still from time to time. I don't know. It's just something went wrong with gaming. Okay, not wrong with gaming. I don't think gaming hasn't exactly gone wrong. It's just different now, I'm not going to say that's good or bad. Just that things nowadays are just kind of kind of I, it's one of those things where you can't tell if it's good or bad. You know, when it comes to the gaming landscape.
Did you know you can donate one or all of your vital organs?
Because on one hand, you know, it's cool that we have the ability to modify and, you know, extend the life of video games and, you know, add new content and all that, you know, officially. And, you know, it's pretty cool that, you know, independent video games are now a real thing. I mean, sure, there were independent video games back then, but not to the same extent now, where anyone can make a game, right? But at the same time, you also have the kind of the arguably or maybe even objectively negative aspects, such as the fact that you have so many games that can come out broken and they're more or less accepted as just being what they are. Or, you know, games that have like rampant DLC and, you know, all this jazz. I mean, I suppose that if the technology was there back in the day in 2007 to do what we can do with games nowadays, I guess companies would have done you know, some of the things gaming does sooner. But at the same time, you know, gaming was simpler back then, you know. Cake is a, you know, it's just the game, and the culture around the game. All of it was just a lot less complicated. I mean, you had all the memes, the cake is a lie, and all the just, like, how do I put it? Because I'm not going to say that everything about gaming is bad. There are actually some things about gaming nowadays that are way better. It's just... Because, you know, you don't always get a game like Portal or a game like a vanilla TF2 anymore. You know, that really revolutionize the landscape in ways that really, you know, are a real like paradigm shifts. There are less paradigm shifting games nowadays compared to. I mean, this was back when Halo like was the bee's knees, right? Halo was the shit back in the day. Like, you could not top Halo back then. As far as like, oh shit. This was back when Halo, every single time a Halo game would drop, suddenly, you know, the earth would shake underneath your feet because Halo was such a goddamn event. Every game was an event, as opposed to now.
Well done, Android. The Enrichment Center once
But
again
back then,
reminds
you know,
that
just
Android Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first
yeah, things were
sign of
different.
defiance.
And I'm an old guy. I'm 27, which, let me see. Actually, hold on a bit. So we can say gaming has now become the jaded middle-aged man who just needs to earn money. I mean, I suppose one could say that about gaming. I don't know, because on one hand,
Vital apparatus vent will deliver
there's more creativity in video games, right?
1.
Games are more creative. Games are a lot more
Companion cube will accompany
varied.
you through the test chamber. Please take care of it.
But at the same time, there's also more complications. There's more controversies. Or at the very least,
The symptoms must
social
not be
media
produced by
was so primitive that if there were controversies, they didn't really matter too
The
much.
symptoms most commonly
Because nobody
produced
really
by
knew
enrichment
about
center
it.
testing are superstition, perceiving
of course, you know, nowadays, you know,
and hallucinations. The enrichment
a game
center
could
reminds you
release
that
with
the
like
weighted
with like
companion cube
save
will never threaten to
corruptions,
stop you
errors,
and, in fact,
bugs up
cannot
the
stop.
ass, you know, and you could just wave it off like, oh, it'll be fixed like later on, like through an update, right? As opposed to now, where you, as opposed to back then, rather, where a game has to work, like right off the bat, or else it's gonna be completely shredded apart.
The enrichment center reminds you
Like, it's
that
not
the
gonna
weighted
sell for shit
companion
if it's
cube
broken.
cannot speak. In the event that the weighted companion cube does speak, the enrichment center urges you
And what
to
other
disregard
like
its
problems there
advice.
are there with gaming like nowadays that weren't as big of an issue as it is now, or back then weren't as much of an issue back then. Um, the fact that games don't come like feature complete nowadays, that you can't even get a Halo game that's feature complete on release nowadays. It's just, God, I know Halo is a completely different like topic entirely, but what happened to that series? It's not just Bungie, right? It's not just because Bungie left. You know, I think 343 or whatever developer, whoever develops a Halo game could probably make a good Halo game. But they just gotta know what a Halo game is, right? Oh yeah, I forgot. I went on such a tangent that I forgot the companion cube. Hold on a bit. Let me get the companion cube real quick. But, you know, I'm not going to go on and say that gaming was perfect back then. It wasn't. Again, I think part of gaming's evolution also coincides with the evolution of technology in general. And the internet was like a more primitive back then compared to now, for one.
However, it cannot accompany you for the
You
rest
know,
of the test, and
way more
unfortunately,
bandwidth
has to
restrictions.
euthanize.
Internet technology was just slower in general.
Faithful companion cube more quickly
In a
than
way,
test
the
subject
evolution of
directly.
technology coincides with the
Congratulations.
evolution of games and where they are right now. Right? The more the internet has evolved, the more ways games have changed.
The enrichment center is required to remind you that you will be baked, and then there will be
To the point where even a single player game requires an internet connection. What's that game? Redfall requires an internet connection even when you're just trying to like play the game offline. And I've checked out like the previews of that game. Apparently it's getting shit on. It's getting shit on right now by, you know, people who've played it. There aren't even any like actual reviews for it right now, which is pretty funny. It's pretty funny to me anyway. Looks like that game's going to be a bit of an L for Microsoft, which sucks because Microsoft used to. They didn't have the same kind of bangers that Nintendo and Sony had, but back then, you know, Microsoft had way more bangers. I mean, you had like Project Gotham Racing, you had the Halo series, Bungie era. You had frickin' Mech Assault, the Mech Assault series, on the original Xbox. Had Blinks the Cat, Blinks the Time Sweeper. Loved that game. Really, that game's also a game that takes me back. That I should probably play again sometime. Um, let's see here. There we go. Gotta take out this last turret. There we go. Now I can concentrate on the puzzle. Oh shit! Never mind that, folks. Pretend that didn't happen. I'm totally a Portal veteran. I'm totally a veteran of this game. Can you tell? Let's see here. Isn't Redfall made by Arcane but published by Microsoft? Yeah. And apparently it's going to probably be their first real L, so to speak, as the kids would put it. Microsoft might have to take the L for or whatever slang the kids use these days. I don't know. I'm just a grumpy old man, a grumpy 27-year-old elderly person, yelling at the clouds just because he's playing Portal, right? You know, the power of Portal compels me to yell at clouds, and I just screwed up because I got too distracted. I think the game is just not finished, right? So maybe not Arcane, but just whoever's in charge of like saying that the game should release right now or tomorrow, rather, I should say. Whoever said that the game needs to be released tomorrow is at fault, because I've seen the previews. I've seen the videos of people who've played it. It's not good. Like it is not a good. It's also another case of a PC port gone totally shit, like upside down, right? Apparently the PC port is bad. Just like was it Jedi Fallen Order? No, not Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor, that Star Wars game. It's going to be among one of those PC ports of this year that's just kind of not ready for prime time. That thing. Not to say that PC ports back then were any better. If anything, PC ports are kind of a mixed bag, like as they are nowadays, or at least this year. PC wasn't really as much of a focus as it was. I mean, unless it was a PC exclusive. If it was a PC exclusive, then yeah, the game would run, fine. But if it's like a multi-platform game with a PC port,
Well done.
chances are the game's gonna suck ass back then. Like the port is gonna suck ass, like completely. Like, because there was less of a focus for multi-platform developers to like make their PC ports as like at least on par, or at least like just not shit. I know that people complain. I think it's because people are complaining about the quality of PC ports lately. I think it's actually kind of a compliment to gaming as a whole that the standards for what is expected of a PC port now have actually increased. I actually think it's kind of a good thing that PC ports have gotten better, but at the same time, it's like these games are just not ready, right? It's ironic that high-end PCs are running most of the new releases like garbage. Yeah, it's basically like the early like the early 2000s PC ports, like all over again. Except that shouldn't be a thing, right? Because engines nowadays are multi-platform, expected to be multi-platform ready, you know. Because again, it says a lot that frame rate issues can be your biggest problem with a PC port, as opposed to like PC ports having way more issues, like way like back when I was growing up, right? It says a lot to how much expectations have changed, for good or for ill, for good or for ill. Again, I'm an old man yelling at the clouds, despite the fact that I'm not even that old, really, if you think about it. I'm not that old, but then again, I am playing Portal, so that partially has something to do with it. Which, by the way, there were. Speaking of Portal, this fire pit, believe it or not, there were some people back in the day who thought that this was the ending of Portal, right? Of course, nowadays, it's obvious that, you're supposed to. There were some people back then who thought that jumping into this fire pit and just continually jumping into the fire pit over and over again was the end of the game. And they just kind of quit without seeing the real ending. I'm not shitting you. There were people who actually did think that this fire pit, without realizing that they could make more portals there, was the end of the game. Like, it's kind of funny in retrospect. Pretty funny. But I guess that's what happens when you try to be a little too subtle with your games. Let's see here. Played this too many times to forget this bit. What else to say about gaming in the 2000s? I mean, what's there to say about, like, gaming consoles back then compared to now? I mean, gaming consoles were there to just play games. Sure, you had the PS2 and the original Xbox that could play DVDs and mute and rip CDs, but they were purebred gaming machines first and foremost. There were little to no like gaming updates, like little to no updates for your gaming console. Maybe there would be like a software patch like included on like a copy of a game. I remember that the Xbox dashboard would get updates with certain like titles. Especially the Xbox Live update. When Xbox Live released, they released games that would update your console. Wasn't like like today where you can just connect to the internet and suddenly your console would change. I mean, what? Like, all it took was like a single. I remember when PS3s supported Linux. It's kind of amazing to me that we once had a console that could run Linux, but they took that out. And I know I'm just kind of going on about like some weird like miscellaneous shit. It's just kind of like again I'm just an old man like kind of like blinking and kind of going, what is going on right now, baby? Like, what is going on these days? in old video game town. But not everything is bad. Ah, shit. Not everything about gaming is bad. And I'm having a brain fart. Like an actual old man. Supposed to jump onto this turbine. And, yeah. I mean, the PS2 is like the highest selling console of all time. It didn't need the internet. But then again, if the internet did exist, or rather, no, rather, if the internet existed like it is today, so the PS2 would be likely be a much different console than it was. Because AAA companies, AAA video game, companies, they'll do whatever it takes to like monetize their games, right? Not that that's inherently a bad thing. It's not inherently a bad thing to want to make more money off your game post-launch. It's just that the method of doing so is what's the problem. And let me see if my old man brain, my old 27-year-old brain can do this again. There we go. There we go. But there are some things these days that I am actually envious of. I would have been envious of back then. Online play is a lot better, for one. Being able to like do things, with the internet, for as far as like, a community, connectivity. It's pretty cool what we can do with games, with some games nowadays. Updates when they are needed, when they are necessary, are pretty good. That's an evolution I like. I like that you can like patch out, like you can heavily. It's kind of cool that you can like kind of heavily alter your game with a single like update, like patch. To fix problems, assuming that it isn't like too much. Screaming kids in the voice chat withstanding. Yeah, I mean, sure, you have kids. It makes it easier for kids to like access, that's a different topic. I think that's a different problem entirely, but it's still pretty cool that you're able to connect with people through video games a lot easier nowadays. That streaming, especially when it comes to streaming, streaming is definitely. I mean, live streams existed back then in 2007. When this game was released. No, it was not good. It sucked. It was low quality, heavily compressed video that unfortunately is pretty much a product of the time. It's a product of the limited internet technology compared to what we have nowadays. But it is pretty cool that live streaming has evolved to the point where I can stream Portal at a decent at a relatively decent resolution with all these like little like effects and VTuber model, and you couldn't do that back then. You couldn't do that at all. So it's pretty cool where live streaming is nowadays. What other thing? I love that technology, video game technology has made it so that achieving art styles is a lot easier. It's kind of a shame that we okay. On one hand, games getting more realistic looking is kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it's pretty cool, right? It's cool that games look more realistic, and to the point of being almost photoreal. On the other hand, there's less imagination that's put into interpreting a video game's look, right? Like, or better yet, I think it's gotten to the point where photorealism is now maybe too much of an obsession. We're too obsessed with realistic. I mean, one of my most anticipated games is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and that's because it looks like Jet Set Radio, right? I can't wait for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk to release, because it looks like the Jet Set Radio game I want. I hope it's good. I hope that game ends up being pretty good, because I want another Jet Set Radio, which I know that Sega are currently making another Jet Set Radio of some kind. But it's like, and of course, oh yeah, that's another thing I really like about games nowadays is the cultural barrier for games is a lot less of a problem nowadays. I mean, unless you were a Final Fantasy or a really popular like Japanese gaming franchise from the olden days, if you're an OG Japanese gaming IP, pretty sure that your game is not going to sell, right? Your game is probably not going to be noticed, as opposed to now. Like compared to nowadays, I mean, there's a reason why like something like Nier Automata managed to catch on with people. And it's not because it's Nier Automata, right? It's because the internet, between the internet and, and the ability to like spread word of mouth, we're more accepting of different types of games beyond like what the West makes, or what prominent Western countries can make. I mean, there are some countries in the West that were never known for making video games now get noticed for making video games because of word of mouth, because we have more of the ability to, oh, so I hit the microphone, because we have more of an ability to spread word of mouth. I like that. That's a good thing. I like that we have more variety of video games that way, and they actually catch on, and people are able to experience them and be accepting of them. Persona, the fact that we have how many units has something like Persona 5 sold, right?
You found me.
I love Persona. I would have never have gotten into Persona without Persona 5 being talked about and being shown off like it was. I have everything to say, I have everything to like thank to the internet about me experiencing Persona and being a Persona fan that I am now, as opposed to back then where everything you had, a lot of things about video games back then you had to like experience maybe on like some like G4 TV or maybe a video game magazine or maybe a video game forum back when a lot of people still had dial-up internet, right? Because broadband wasn't really too much of a thing still. Um, a lot of video game exposure and video game, the barriers were a lot higher because of that communication limit expressed by the limited technology of yesteryear. So I like that we have more of a discussion and the ability to discuss different types of games. So that's another thing that, I like about gaming these days that I would have liked back then. What other thing that do I really like about? I think I've already expressed my liking for, independent video games being more of a thing. Oh, god damn it. Come on. Come on, hit her. There we go. I've gotta make sure that rocket, gotta make sure your portal placement is all right. Yep. I've already touched upon independent video games being more of a thing, and the ability to make video games being a lot easier, or at least to start making a game. The ability to for your average Joe to make a game is a lot easier. The gateways. I'm open to that's the thing about gaming. I guess that when you boil it down, right? What I like most about video games, the things that I like about video games these days, has a lot to do with accessibility and just the accessibility of the medium in general. Because some of my favorite games would never have been made back then without just the ability being there. And what the heck? Okay, so normally you're supposed to just bump into that core, right? There we go. That's weird. Usually you just bump into it and just kind of unlocks. But yeah, I love that gaming is more accessible and game development is more accessible. And that word of mouth is a lot more accessible. Everything else that's related to monetization, pre-order culture, what else? The fact that, you can't just have a complete game, or not necessarily a complete game, but a completely functional game, those are problems that yeah, they were a problem back then, but they're more of an issue nowadays because we have more of an avenue to talk about it and share it. And share our negative experiences with just a unfinished piece of code. And that games are a lot more AAA games rather are a lot more complex to make. As a result, and the work culture and crunch and all that jazz surrounding video games has just gotten out of hand. Which, sure, there probably were problems before, but they're a lot more exposed and a lot more evident nowadays. And I just finished Portal without, let me tell you about this ending to Portal. This made a lot of people go, was the cake really real? Was GLaDOS telling the truth? Was the cake not a lie after all? It made people really go nuts, right? This ending. Partly because of the execution, how it's just subtle. It's just a subtle little thing here, this ending. Of just ending. It just ends. And you're left wondering, like, oh my god, did I just kill GLaDOS for no real reason? Was she telling the truth? And it made you want a sequel. Let me see here. Yeah, games are never polished for some reason. Installing game before playing. Yeah, it's like, to give it credit, the internet helped with the popularity of indies. Yeah. So I love. Again, it's one of those things where gaming has evolved with the internet, right? I like what some of the things that the internet has done to gaming. But yeah, sometimes you just want to play a video game and not have it like completely like shit itself, right? That was more of a philosophy back then. But then again, that's because, I guess partly because video games were, at least AAA games were easier to make back then. Because there were less variables to game development as opposed to nowadays where you got to push the envelope of technology because that's what sells, right? As opposed to, back then where technology was limited. You had to work with what you had. And you know what? We got some amazing games out of those limitations. Like Portal. I mean, there are some things about Portal that were limited because this was actually a multi-platform game. Like, they have to change some stuff because of the Xbox 360's hardware. Having limited RAM, 512 gigs of, not 512 megabytes of RAM. That's pretty limited. And they made a great game around that 512 megabytes of RAM. As opposed to now, where technology is a lot more expansive. Sky's the limit. And yet, as a result of the skies being the limit, games are a lot more complicated. Game development is a lot more complicated. And gaming culture is a lot more complicated. And, well, let's just say that not everything is going to be like Portal. Games that really changed the landscape like never before. And this 1 hour video game, I can play the single 1 hour video game over and over and over again compared to like your most expensive AAA thing nowadays, because there's just more games were just more elegant back then. Just and the culture being more elegant. Maybe a little bit more crude, but just a lot of fun, you know? Games were fun. Games can still be fun. Games can, I'm not going to say that games aren't fun nowadays. Games can be a lot of fun still. But when you have like a game like Hogwarts Legacy generating the kind of controversy that it does, it makes you wonder where has gaming, what happened to video games? Or no, not necessarily what happened to video games. What happened to gaming culture? It makes you wonder, you know? So, I guess that's enough of my rambling. I already completed Portal. True, new games are so expensive. That's why indies are thriving. And I like that. I love that indies are thriving the way they are. What's your opinion on open world games? Bit of a hit and miss. Um, Something like Hogwarts Legacy. I liked Hogwarts Legacy when I played it. Um, though it depends on how much time I have to go through it. Which right now I do have time at the moment, since I am between jobs at the moment, which is not really a secret if one follows me on Twitter. But open world games, to be honest with you, at the end of the day, I prefer level based games that have, okay, how do I put it? It's like do you want a single, it's like, how do I put my what I want in a game? I guess it's the kind of thing where, I guess, Warren Spector, which for people who don't know who Warren Spector is the guy behind Deus Ex, right? Um, his dream game is to essentially make a game that takes place in a single block of a city. But in this single block of a city, there are so many things you can interact with, and people to talk to that say different things. That things, basically a lot of content packed into a single space. Personally, I prefer that over an open world game where there is so much space to traverse, but so little content in it. You know, so I guess that's basically my taste. The something that, yeah, basically Deus Ex, something that is more like like dense with detail and content, the better, in my opinion. Even if it has to be level based, it doesn't matter as long as there's always something new to experience every time you play it. I love that's what I want in a video game. So I guess a game like that, is more my cup of tea. Um, let's see, how long has this stream been going? It's been going for about an hour now, which is more or less the intent. I didn't want this to be a long stream, you know. I didn't want this to be a long stream. Um, I did what I sought out to do. Though, do you guys want something else? You want me to play something else, or am I okay to like end it here? Because the objective is complete, and I guess maybe I could talk a little more, right? If you want me to. If not, then the stream is essentially over, and I actually have to thank you guys for tuning in to this one. Have you planned to finish any games? I'm currently, for some reason, despite the fact that it's been years, I have not completed Persona 5 Royal. I finished the original Persona 5, but not Royal. I've been playing Royal like lately, so I want to finish that. I want to seriously go ahead and finish that. I recently got a Nintendo Switch. I got the Zelda Switch, right? I have never completed Persona 4 Golden or Persona 3, whether it's FES or portable. I intend to finish Persona 4 first and then go maybe like see if I can finish Persona 3. So yeah, I finished Hi-Fi Rush. I had a Xbox Series S at one point. I did finish Hi-Fi Rush on Game Pass, which was a really good game. It's basically Jet Set Radio mixed with Fooly Cooly, mixed with you know with rhythm games. It's basically the soundtrack, especially. I love it's a great soundtrack. A really good, perfectly curated soundtrack. I mean, they even have Number Girl on the soundtrack, and I'm like, holy shit, Number Girl! They got Number Girl on this soundtrack, and I'm like, holy shit, man, this game is my jam. Which, by the way, yeah, the comparisons to Hi-Fi Rush to like older games like Beautiful Joe and the like, perfectly warranted because it's a simple game, but I can imagine myself playing it again if I had like a if I can like get another Xbox or maybe get on Steam at some point. Maybe I could like maybe stream Hi-Fi Rush on Steam at some point. Like stream Hi-Fi Rush at some point rather. Um Maybe play another short game. Yeah. See, Hi-Fi Rush was actually a perfect length for me. That's like it's just like good like what like 7 hours to play Hi-Fi Rush. Go through Hi-Fi Rush. That's a good length, for me. I like games that aren't too short but aren't too long. 7 hours is a good length. I prefer that. What other games do I have here? I have not played Evil Within, but I heard Evil Within 2 is good. Like especially heard that Evil Within 2 is especially good. Maybe I could like play that sometime. Though I've never played the first game. Um Admittedly, like survival horror is kind of hit and miss with me. Sometimes I drive with it, sometimes I don't. I find that survival horror games can be a little stressful to play at some points because they could be spoopy. They could be sometimes I play a game. I like to play a game that won't spook me. You know. Sometimes I just want a game. I should probably get like stream Katamari Damacy re-rolled at some point. I love Katamari Damacy. I also have Signalis on PS5 on my PS5. Maybe I should like stream that at some point as well. Spoopy, I guess Spoopy games are, I suppose, spoopy, spoopy, scary skeleton games. You know, maybe we could try one sometime. I should probably get the PC version of Signalis and stream that. But yeah, maybe I should. If it ever goes on sale, I'll definitely do it. Get some spoops in. Um, though I suppose I don't really have. What other games do I have on here? Oh, I just realized. I just remembered I have Portal RTX. It barely runs on my PC, on my laptop. God. Um, like what else? Because admittedly, my gaming library on PC is kind of limited. Based on like what I can run on this laptop. Admi- Admittedly, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but my laptop is going off like a jet engine in the background, and it's not. I'm using like RTX broadcast, right? NVIDIA broadcast to like kind of like get rid of some of that extra noise, but it's not doing too much of a great job from my testing. Um, I suppose you don't have a rig. I don't have room for a rig. Well, that and also I'm in between jobs, so I have to save and make. In fact, I'm actually selling stuff right now to kind of like make ends meet. I had to sell my iPad and some of my figures late today, which sucks. But got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to get into it because those are my problems, not yours, right? My problems are my problems. I'm not going to put it on any of you because that's not how I roll. That's not how I roll. I got to deal with my problems. Uh, okay. So I had like a Fate Zero like saber. Like the Max Factory saber figure. With her like holding Excalibur and dressed in her black suit. It looks all nice and shit. I had to sell her along with Kiritsugu. So yeah, it feels bad, man. Feels bad, but gotta do what you gotta do. Or I at least I gotta do what I gotta do. So yeah, that was the thing that I had to do. I might actually stream Nekopara at some point. I've always wanted to go through Nekopara. I've completed the first volume of Nekopara, but not the other volumes. Maybe I should. Maybe I want to go through Nekopara just because I have it. Just because I have them on Steam, right? That and I'm a Nekomimi. I mean, can't you tell? I love the cat ladies. Unless they're crazy. I don't want crazy cat ladies. I want the fine ones. I want the fine ones with the thighs and the ears and the tail. Did I say thighs? I might have said thighs. Let's see, what time is it? It's almost 9 p.m. where I am. So, I suppose this has been a pretty good length for a Portal stream. And yes, it's going to be the safe version. Of course, I don't want to get on YouTube's bad side of like, going not safe for work around here. Even though the non safe for work version is pretty much the point of Nekopara, but I'm not going to stream that version. No, it's going to be the safe one. But anyway, I suppose I suppose I gotta get rolling at some soon. Um, Gotta make sure that I get sleep because admittedly I have like a job interview in like 2 days. I will stream it when I can. Maybe tomorrow, actually. I might go through Nekopara tomorrow. I should. Oh yeah, I need to get back to reading Witch on the Holy Night as well. Got to finish that. Maybe do a review once I finish it. So yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I do the job interview, and hopefully, get the job. I'm going to be busy tomorrow, so I'm not sitting like not sitting down, like laying around, while I'm jobless. I'm actually going to try. So I suppose, yeah, not much to really say at this point that isn't like too personal. And thank you for the wish for good luck. I'm going to need it. Absolutely. I'm going to need all the luck I can get. Thank you. Thank you for anyone who wishes me good luck. Thank you absolutely. I suppose we're at the end of the stream. I guess I'll end things when it's like 9 minutes. Once it hits like 9 p.m. What other plans? I need to get back into content creation. I know that much. In fact, I have a video idea. I said previously that I wanted to do something fate related. I might have to cancel that plan because I have another video idea that us if things go a certain way might actually be a collaboration with someone who I've been a fan of for like over a decade. Who, but that's only if he says yes to the idea, right? I want to collaborate on a video, and it's going to be not about something, but about someone. Unfortunately, it's about someone who passed away this year, but was fundamental to my, experiences on YouTube growing up. He's no longer alive anymore. But I want to make a video about a certain person you may or may not have heard of. He's a YouTube OG. rmake21. It sucks that rmake21 is no longer with us, but I want to make a video essay about him. And if you've never heard of him, I don't blame you because he's an OG, more of an OG than me. So this is like old YouTube. I want to make a video dedicated to him because he was important. He was important to me, at least like as far as like being a YouTube consumer growing up. Basically, imagine a more grounded AVGN. You got rmake21, and I want to make sure that I want to make a video about him. But I haven't written anything about rmake21. Again, it's something I want to collaborate with someone on. rmake21. There we go. Yeah. Someone. Again, it's a possible collaboration with somebody, but that's only if he agrees to it. If he agrees to it, it'll make the video even better. Because I'm getting sentimental now. I'm getting sentimental over the old days as I get older, and as life kind of does what it does, I suppose. Sometimes we just got to go back to the past for even a little while. And if you don't mind me, doing that from time to time, then we're all good, you know? We're all good here. It's been a difficult year for me, but I'm going to try to get through it. For for my sake, for all of our sakes, include whether it's me or anyone who may be watching this. I hope I make that video soon as well. I want to make it. Well, I guess I did say that I would cut it in. I got like 4 minutes here. 4 minutes of, I guess, empty space waiting to be filled, unless you're okay with me ending things right now. Ending the stream, rather, right now. Because the objective was to just go through Portal, reminisce about old times, and I did that just as I wanted. So, thanks for indulging me. Thanks for like sticking around for even a little bit. Thank you for watching. We could all get some sleep, yeah. I suppose in that case, I suppose this is me, Hollow of Dawn, signing out. Thank you for watching. And thank you, and of course, you're always welcome. Have a good one, guys. Sean Busybody, Raphael VP. Have a good night or a good day, depending on your time zone. Have a good one in general. Peace out, yo.